Hey bosses, this week's episode is brought to you by Global Pass, the global co-working membership that gives you access to working spaces in more than 600 cities around the world. We'll tell you more about them during the break.
Welcome to the Travel Like a Boss podcast, where we interview location-independent entrepreneurs that travel the world like a boss by being their own boss. Here's your host, Johnny FD.
Hey bosses, and welcome to episode 241 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. I'm sitting here in Chiang Mai, Thailand, where it all began with Nate Ginsberg. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Johnny. Glad to be here.
Dude, it really did start here, huh?
It did, yeah. I know we were kind of chatting about it a little bit as we were getting set up, but what I was going to say, I think I remember, actually was there at the genesis of this podcast at one of the paleo power breakfasts that were going. And if I remember right, someone mentioned, or kind of podcasts were the hot thing, or people were all talking about starting them. And this was what, in 2013?
Yeah, I think it was 2013.
Yeah, and it was, I think at one of the breakfasts, someone mentioned podcast, and I think you might have just said something like, oh yeah, podcast, good idea. And then all of a sudden I remember it was literally the next day or one or two more that you just had, got the site up, had recorded an episode, had some cover art designed, and it was just, bam. And I guess here we are 6 years later, more.
Yeah, 241 episodes later. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, it's an honor and a pleasure to see it at the beginning, and then now get to be a part of it 240 episodes in.
Yeah, so we actually met at the Paleo Breakfast, which was just a couple nomads house here in Neiman. Mm-hmm. And they were all part of the DC, and it was kind of just a casual gathering. They had a housekeeper anyways that they were paying $700 a month or something.
Yeah, I mean, I remember for me, it was really, maybe for both of us, really positive and impactful. I mean, for me, as someone who's just came to Asia, was new, trying to meet people, trying to get involved with the scene, to have that as a regular weekly thing, just to meet up and meet people like you, for example, and all a lot of really great people there. A lot of which I think are still friends today. Got Noah, Will, Simon. It's a crew.
Yeah, and I remember every week, I mean, to kind of paint the picture, Chiang Mai in 2013 didn't have that many digital nomads. The term wasn't even popular. We called ourselves location independent entrepreneurs, which would never stick because it's too long. And a couple of the guys, they were living in a house that they rented here in Neiman, so it's super convenient for everyone. Every Friday from 9 a.m. to noon or something, we would show up. Their house cleaner would cook omelets, crack open coconuts, and I think they had I think the avocados were their private stash, but I would always eat some.
Yeah, I think and fruit. If I remember right.
Yeah, and coffee too,
Bulletproof coffee.
I think we would just chip in a couple $100 baht, maybe $4, $5 or something, and we just it was just a nice get together. So it ended up not costing them anything because people chip in money. I'm pretty sure they didn't make any money from it, but it was just easy way to gather. And I wish more people would have continued that, because really all it takes is you having a house in a central location and just opening the doors saying, hey, every Friday at 10 a.m. let's meet here.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good example of it, really just fit in timing of something that those of us that were here really wanted to connect and wanted an opportunity to come, hang out, chat, meet the new people. And it was, so easy and also impactful for the guys that had, it was a pretty big house. They had a good size, living room, living area, whatever. And they didn't really have to do much to organize, just, let people know. And there was, I remember there being 15, 20, 25 people showing up there some weeks. And
and it was all word of mouth, and it was open door policy where as long as you were a friend of a friend and you knew about it, you just walked in. There's no RSVPing. It wasn't even posted on the internet anywhere.
Yeah, very inclusive, and good times. And here we are, Chiang Mai now wrapping up from Paleo Power Breakfast to what, Nomad Summit number 10?
No, this is number 8, I think. But yeah, number 6 in Chiang Mai. It's been 6 years, which is pretty crazy. And I definitely want to get into your talk about the Nomad Summit and kind of everything that you've been through since. But I remember the start of the podcast actually started because one guy, I think it was Terry Lin, he had a podcast called Build My Online Store. And at the time, I had a dropshipping store that had just started taking off and making money. And he was like, oh, that's really interesting. Because I think I was one of the first successful dropshippers that he had met. So he was like, hey, let's do a podcast together. And I said, okay, cool. Like, do we need to go to a studio or how does this work? And he's like, no, I have all my gear here in my backpack. Let's go upstairs and find a quiet spot. So Tara and I go up to one of the empty bedrooms and start recording a podcast on one of these similar mics that we have now, which is an Audio-Technica mic. And I thought, wow, that was really easy. Like, I really thought that we would have to... Oh, no, it was a Blue Yeti at the time, which is kind of a popular mic. But either way, I was like, this is really easy. Like, I can do this. And I remember, podcasts were just starting off and they were hot at the time. And I remember just going downstairs and saying, hey, guys, I'm going to start a podcast. And even Terry, who I had asked a couple questions to, like, what mic do you use? What editing software would you host it? He didn't actually believe I was going to do it because I'm sure a lot of people have asked him the same thing and just never did it. And everybody was shocked by the next week when I saw everyone at the Paleo Breakfast. Not only did I have the cover art done, I had the website up, and I think I had recorded 2 episodes already. And I think that was kind of like the mentality I was in, like that hustle mentality.
Yeah, dude. I think it's like a amazing example and inspiration of like, don't need to overcomplicate things and, just ship and get it out there. And like at the time, you certainly could have fussed and tried to find better equipment or better cover art or, blah, 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 blah. But I'm sure when you started it, maybe had some ideas of what you were getting into, but you clearly didn't need to have it all figured out. And, fast forward, hundreds of episodes later, and now these Nomad Summits. And I mean, it's really, certainly seems like it's been a really positive experience and platform for you to, a lot of different opportunities and help a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's been fun. And I think that it's cool seeing all of us grow together because even though we've all went on separate paths, like business-wise, life-wise, or even just location-wise, like you basically moved to Vietnam and lived there for how long?
It was about 4 years. Vietnam was home.
Yeah, and it was funny because it was a big splinter of the Chiang Mai crowd where I think we all went to Vietnam for one birding season, which was back then started in like March, so now it's starting earlier. But some of us just didn't like it and moved back or moved to other places, and then some of you guys were just like, Vietnam is the bomb. I'm staying here. Yeah,
well, it's interesting how it happened where I think like Chiang Mai was kind of the original hub, and then it shifted, like late 2013, early 2014, and then Vietnam was just fucking popping, and huge scene, and that really exciting place to be for the next following years, and then fast forward a couple years after that, and like the Vietnam scene has definitely died down, and a lot of those people or that would have been going to Saigon the last few years have now been back to Chiang Mai, and so I guess everything has its seasons.
Why do you think it changed? Why did you leave Saigon?
Yeah, for me, I left Saigon. So this was I kind of like unplugged or moved my base from Saigon a little over 2 years ago, or maybe 2.5 years ago now, and like I was there. It was home base for 4 years, and was amazing for my life. So much growth personally, professionally. Like I really grew up in that city. And like after when I was like leaving or trying to find the next place was sort of, some of the thinking was around like what got you to where you are isn't going to get you to where you want to go next. And like I have so much love for Saigon and the community there, and it was and is amazing for my life, but I think like I had realized so much of like I had already realized so much growth and progress and learning everything from that city, and was looking to find new growth and new opportunities, and went off back out to explore.
Yeah, that's cool. So what actually made you like Saigon in the first place? Like what did you like about Saigon more than you did Chiang Mai? Or is it just the community?
Yeah, so interesting question. And it's interesting as I kind of now compare and contrast. I remember at the time when I was living in Saigon, and then now the last few winters I've been spending more time in Chiang Mai. And yeah, so, I mean, Vietnam at the time, it was really for me at least, and I think a lot of the people, was the perfect combination of really everything of what I wanted at that point in my life. The community was a huge part. People there to learn from, peers, people in front of you, people behind you, just like really amazing and supportive community. And like, I guess along with that, everyone hung out a lot. And so there was just stuff to do, drinks, meeting up after work, going out on the weekends, or just like, co-working in cafes. And then also like the lifestyle was fun, not very expensive. Like everyone was living in, if you remember, like the 18A area. So everyone was living within, or most people were within, all off of this one street. So you really had and felt this like really awesome sense of community there, running into people, at smoothies and breakfast and yeah. And so I guess the community, big part. Lifestyle was good. Lots of cafes to work from, cheap, could get nice meals, also, live really well on a budget. And it was good also for partying. Like at that time, I was much more into partying than at least I am now. And Saigon's fun. Had a lot of these rooftop bars. And then I guess the last part of Saigon and what's still something that I notice whenever I go back is just the city has this electricity. Like Vietnam and Saigon especially is developing so fast. And, when you're there, you'll be, on a street at a cafe, and you'll come back a week later and there'll be, not only has the shop closed down, there's 2 new ones opening up and a new high-rise building that's coming in. And just like the rate of development is going so fast that you can't help but be swept up in it. And so the combination of the energy, the community, the lifestyle was really just the perfect recipe for, I think, me and a lot of the other people there, of just, catalyst for personal, professional growth. And yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see why you liked it. And when I first went, I really liked it. My original plan was to stay for 2 months. And I had a, little studio apartment, $250 a month in that D1 District 1 area, right next to Juicy Smoothies, right behind it. And I liked it, and there was little things I liked about it. Like you would leave your laundry, even if it was just like one shirt, in the basket, and then you'd get home and that one shirt would be washed, folded, and put on your bed. Like we used to call them like Vietnamese elves or something, like magical elves that did your laundry 7 days a week. It was crazy.
Yeah, it is nice getting the serviced and the laundry done every day. Nice benefit of an apartment that you're paying $250 a month for, especially.
Yeah. And the funniest thing is they didn't even mention that when I rented the apartment. They didn't say like laundry's included. I think in Vietnam it just assumed that laundry is included or something. And the area was super easy. I had joined a really cool gym with Anton that had a sauna, an ice bath, and the gym was really nice. But it was also really expensive. I remember that gym being like $80 or $90 a month for the like day rate, where you can only go between like 9 and 11 or something.
I think I remember when that gym was opening, and a lot of people were kind of getting. Yeah, certainly. I think that was like the first like super nice high end or most convenient high end gym that was opening. But that's also one thing that I think is really cool about Saigon, is that it has such a there's such contrast there. So you can have the expensive gym with a sauna and ice bath, and on a in a high rise building and these views. Then you can also around the corner get like the super local gym with, there's one, I don't know if you remember, where near 18A, we called it a prison gym.
Yeah, I remember that.
With like no, I think it was maybe $1 to get in each time.
Yeah. And there's also prison pho, which was like $1 as well.
Yeah. And so that's the thing with Saigon. It's like you have these contrasts. You can get the, around one corner, super high end, cuisine or, gym or facilities. And then, around the other corner is, super local, and yeah, really, really cheap. And it's cool to be able to have like both of those, I think, kind of contributes to its like charm and energy.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I remember it was fun having that. Was it a line group? I don't remember what app we used. No, maybe it's
GroupMe.
I don't know. It's gone now, I think, right? Yeah, maybe it was GroupMe. I think it's dead. But like the biggest complaint about Saigon was there was it was really hard to be in a community, except if you happen to already know some people in the community, then you'd be in this like private GroupMe chat. Every morning we'd wake up and turn on our phone, and whoever woke up the earliest that day would say, today's coffee shop is I don't remember the names of them now.
Yeah, it was like ID Cafe.
There's one French sounding one.
Lucine, yeah.
Lucine, or like, and there's two Lucines, but like Lucine 2 or something. Lucine on whatever street. And just randomly someone would just choose one and say, I'm working from here today. And then like 5 or 10 people would show up. And every day was a different cafe. The cafes never minded if we were there for 4 hours or 6 hours. It was just like a nice experience, I think.
Yeah, it really was. And it's interesting how you said that. And it's true that it's like if you were, basically in the group chat, stuff going on all the time, if you wanted to, meet and co-work at the cafe or hang out after or get a smoothie, it was just like, plugged in. But then if you weren't in that group, and it wasn't, it was a very inclusive, it's just if you like weren't aware of it or, hadn't met anybody in this, and I think that was a big thing. I remember a lot of people at that time just like kind of coming through Saigon, and, a friend of a friend or this would, come to visit, and, people would just, they'd love it. And it was great. Like you'd come and you get kind of plugged into this, into this scene, and there's just stuff going on and people were doing stuff and people were just excited. It was a fun time.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And the only reason why I left, I actually left prematurely. I was going to stay for 2 months. And after 3 weeks, I just could not stand it anymore. I went back to Chiang Mai. It was the noise. And it wasn't just the noise of like being outside and hearing, first off, Vietnamese techno at like 7 a.m. full blast every time we walked by a shop, but also like the motorbikes noise that never stops and the constant honking. But it was just like a combination of everything where I wouldn't really notice it until I got home and laid down, but my ears would be ringing just from the noise the whole day. And even on the like Sunday pool parties, which was supposed to be like a relaxing day, they were blasting music the whole time. And I just remember for 3 weeks, I just couldn't really relax. It was just always going. And some people loved it. Like Anton really loved it because he's from New York and he loves that energy, as you mentioned. But for me, I need to chill, and I just couldn't chill.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I think you're right. It's, that energy, some people it really resonates with and is inspiring and energizing. And then other people, it's just, too much and overwhelming. And also, it can change. Like I remember, for me, as well as my brother who was living in Saigon, at that time. And, I used to like love the noise, I love that like you'd wake up and whether, you'd leave your apartment at 6:30 a.m., 7:30, 8, 9, like didn't matter. But there was just, the streets were buzzing. And, now coming back and it's just like, I maybe I'm more, I don't know, sensitive to it or just enjoy kind of chill and quiet more. But like, being back now, it's like, it's, you can't really escape it.
Yeah. Well, actually what I noticed was even the people like Anton who really liked it, they all found their escape by renting really nice, big penthouses where they would just spend most of their day in the penthouse, never leave it. Like they would order food or like they would have someone cook and they would just chill. And then, when they would go out, they go out.
Yeah, I think it's important to, I guess you can't have that on all the time. And yeah, I think and now I know a lot of my friends that are still living there, a lot of them, they moved out of the city center and are living more in some of the new developments or high rises that are, a little bit out. Still quite close, but not in the center. And it's, you get a little bit out into these other developments and it's really a different world than in the city center where we were all living.
Yeah, I can imagine. But I'm kind of weird. I like being right in the city center and have everything at my fingertips. but I also like quietness, which is why I'm okay. I really love where I'm staying now because it's like right off of Neiman, but it's quiet. And even though it's a small place, it's just a studio apartment, I'm never here. Like I'm almost always out, and it's okay because there's so many cafes and coffee shops like right on the street that I'm just not home very much. But I think if I was in Saigon, I would need a bigger place that was quiet and I could just like work from home.
Yeah, it's, very different city vibes for sure. And that's something that's also, I've noticed that as I've kind of spent more time in Chiang Mai the last few years, and that I've kind of learned to also appreciate is just like how convenient this place is. Just like living around Neiman, everything's less than a 10-minute walk. And then there's nature, it's quiet, like, and for me, the last few years, as I've gotten even more into kind of like other like exercise or biking or, nature activities, which is also super accessible in Chiang Mai, whereas in Saigon, you can't really like go for a bike ride around the city is not going to be super pleasant. Whereas here, out of Neiman 2 minutes, there's like beautiful trails and roads and some really incredible, nature biking or hiking or whatever you want to be doing. So yeah, it's just been also nice to be spending time here.
I mean, I think that's what I love about Chiang Mai. Like yesterday I went for a hike up the Monk's Trail, and then on the way down went to the Chiang Mai Aquarium, which I've been in Chiang Mai for 6 years. I thought I found everything already. I thought I'd been to everything already. But it turns out there's so many cool things that I'm still discovering, like the aquarium. I didn't realize how nice it is. Like nobody I know has been there. And now I'm going to add it to my like 30 things to do in Chiang Mai list because it is one of the best aquariums I've been to anywhere in the world.
Word. Well, I first time I'm hearing about the aquarium.
Yeah, right? And like you've been here so many times as well.
Sounds cool. Like I don't know, nice activity.
No, I mean, like, it's perfect for, like, a rainy day and you want to be, like, indoor, because it's all indoors and it's huge. You can spend, like, 2 hours in there. Or if it's, like, super hot out, it's, like, air conditioned, so you can just walk around in there. So, yeah, I think that's what I like about Chiang Mai. And I like Saigon, and I see why some people like it. But I also think it really is for, like, the nightlife scene, where... Like, everyone I know who stayed, it's because they love partying with hot Vietnamese girls and drinking for cheap.
Yeah, I mean, that is, one of the biggest differences probably is the nightlife. And in Saigon, the nightlife, even since when we were first there, has still, like, really evolved and blossomed. And, like, there's all these, all these more cool rooftop bars and, fancy lounges. And, like, it's nice. Like, there's some really cool... speakeasies and lounge and just kind of everything that's opening up, which is cool. And but also for me, like that stuff is less important to me now than it was, a couple years ago when I was living there for me personally. And yeah, if you like to go out and party, Saigon's an awesome place. Chiang Mai, much more quiet.
Yeah, the bars here close at midnight, which some people hate. It's a deterrent, but for me, I love it. I love the fact that everyone's in bed by midnight, the music stops, it's quiet, and then people wake up early and just have like a normal day.
Yeah. I guess I'm much more on the wake up early, most days or preferably. And so yeah, Chiang Mai is a nice place for that.
So probably the best way to describe it is Saigon, or Vietnam in general, is kind of like the Medellin of Asia. Go there to party. Go there if you want hustle and bustle, big city. And then Chiang Mai is, like the mountain town, kind of more chill. So what brought you back here, actually?
I came back because I guess knew a bunch of people that were going to be here, or, it was in the fall and a lot of people came here after the different events, or there are a bunch of fall events going on in Thailand that brought people here. And so that's kind of what pulled me back. And then also at the time, my brother and sister were living here. And so that, made it easy to stay. And yeah, and like, as I spent more time here, I really developed just like a really great routine and schedule here. Like it's, for me, as much as, as important and how much I value freedom in my life and business, like I really also crave routine, but like my own routine. I want to make the routine.
No, I know what you mean. I'm the exact same way, and I think this is something that is kind of underappreciated or utilized by nomads, where we love the freedom, but that leads people to just bouncing around, stressing out about what they should do each day, being unproductive, not being in shape. But like, what is your routine currently?
Yeah, well, so in Chiang Mai, and a lot of what has kept me spending more time here the last few years is, health wise, for me, I think Chiang Mai is the number one place that I've spent time. I mean, I'm super into yoga. They've got amazing yoga studios with great teachers, and just like the overall level of yoga practicer here is really high. And so that
I noticed that too. And it's not as famous as Bali yoga, but I think here it's actually better in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there's just like in walking distance from my apartment, there's 3 or maybe 4 studios that have classes going on every day, that it's like good teachers, good level of other practicer, and so have like a great yoga schedule here. And then also, like I was saying, I mean, in terms of the other health stuff, great biking. This awesome gym opened up very near to both of us now.
Yeah, we'll give them a shout out, because Nate and I both go to the same gym. We kind of don't want it to get too crowded, but at the same time, if we don't talk about it, maybe they'll go out of business. So Playground Fitness, but it's really for if you want to stay for like 3 months or longer.
Yeah, which, I mean, great gym, clean, modern. So yeah, convenient there. And then, also I have time for, going on bike rides and yeah. So, I mean, more on the health stuff, like get a lot of massages that are super cheap and abundant, and I love the Thai massages, which, yeah, I mean, are amazing in Thailand, go figure. And so, with that, like healthy food and then also and with all those things, it's still like, I have like enough work time as well. And so it's just like the things that I want to be doing like every day, exercise, productivity, eat well, meet some friends, and just like able to do all the, like when I look back on my days, like they're very generally like, quite full, but in a good way. In
a low stress way.
Yeah, low stress. Like it's, they're filled, but filled with, all activities that are important to me or I want to be doing, and like it also, everything's so close that it's so easy. It doesn't feel, it's not stressed or you're like cramming everything in. It's just when it takes you 5 minutes to get from, one activity or one meeting or one cafe or one lunch to, the next place, it's just like you can fit a lot in.
And I definitely agree. I think here I end up doing a lot, but I end up being very stress-free. Like everything's so close, as you mentioned, everything's so easy to get to, and there's so many options. You can be like, all right, do I want to take a taxi? Do I want to walk? Do I want to take a red truck? Do I want a bicycle? Like there, you have 4 options to get everywhere, and no option takes more than 20 minutes.
Yeah, I will say, and it is one of the nice things. Like it's so low stress here. It's just like the mountains, or it's kind of the small town feel, which is nice. That being said, I'll just share a quick stressful experience that I had. This was just about a week ago. So mentioned that I love biking and do biking, and last week biked up Doi Sutap, which is really challenging but also really fun.
Is a super steep mountain.
Yeah, it takes like, so it was my personal record biking up, which took me like an hour and 15 minutes. And like I'm in, I bike a decent amount. I'm in pretty good bike shape, and so this was the fastest that I've ever done it. And so I get to the top, feeling good, and I turn around to start coming back down, and it's like it's steep. It's an hour and a half up.
Yeah. Can we talk about do you know like the elevation gain or anything, altitude?
I think it's maybe like 1,500 meter. Like it's a lot.
It's a climb.
Yeah, it's a mountain.
It's actually I didn't realize this, that Doi Sutap's actually one of the most famous kind of bike destinations for I guess, is it road biking?
Yeah, it's a lot of, I think Doi Sutap and what's the Doi Inthanon, I think, are like 2 of the most, like they're like known in the biking community as just like epic, challenging, rides.
And they both just happen to be in Chiang Mai.
Yeah, super, both, really accessible. So, all right, so yeah, it's this huge ride up. I turn around, I'm about to come back down, which is just like, downhill for, well, I mean, it's faster than you come up, but it's probably a solid 30 minutes or so, just going down. And, I, grab the brakes because it's, pretty steep, and like immediately realize that something isn't right. Like I'm squeezing the brakes, hard like I normally would, and I'm not slowing down like I thought. And, and at first I try to just like squeeze really, really, really hard, which helps like a little bit. I mean, I'm going down faster than I would otherwise or would want to be. And, I'm squeezing these brakes, and, at first I'm thinking like, okay, well, like at first it's like, okay, well, I just got to like squeeze these things really hard, for the whole way down. And I mean, it's like, it's painful. Like I can, your wrists and your forearms.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
anyway, but so I get down like, the first or kind of second turn, and like, I'm still going faster than I want to be, and I'm squeezing these brakes as hard as I can, and I'm not slowing down like I should or I'm comfortable with. And, then I start to honestly, start to panic. I'm like, all right, well, am I gonna have to fucking jump off this bike? Like, this is not safe. Like, I'm not gonna be able to get down to the bottom. And thankfully, I remembered was biking with a good friend of mine, Alec. This was probably like last year in Chiang Mai, but he's a big biker, and he had told me, in emergency situations, you like put the sole of your shoe, like reach your foot back and use your shoe to slow down the tire.
Wow.
Yeah, which thankfully I remembered and was able to, got my foot around to, slow the tire down, which, eventually got me able to stop. And then I, got off the bike, and then I had to walk to find a freaking truck to, get me down. And anyway, fortunately made it out unscathed. My shoes were wrecked.
Wow, I can imagine that. Because it's a steep mountain.
Yeah, it's like, and I thought like as I'm, first when I got my foot on the wheel, I was like, oh, am I just gonna like do this on the whole way down?
No.
But then I like realized like because I could. I mean, the bike was slowing, which is good. But then like I actually went and like I pulled my foot out to check, and I could see that like, it was cutting through all the sole and the rubber. Like the shoe wouldn't last. Like, I mean, certainly not practical to do that the whole way down. So anyway, fortunately was able to get out, unscathed, but yeah, was, unusually, stressful situation in a normally not so stressful place.
Yeah, I can imagine. But so what kind of truck brought you down? Was it one of those red trucks?
Yeah, it was a red. So I like walked down to, it was like the highest, most like viewpoint area. And when I was down there, and also fortunately it was like getting dark, and I'm walking down, and then I'm like, all right, well, I don't have like lights on this bike. I need to get to the rest area so that I'm not just on the side of this freaking road. But yeah, then there were these like red trucks that were coming down, and I'm trying to, wave at them to, to pick me up, and they're not stopping, blah, blah, blah. Then finally one of them, like there was a red truck that was coming down, and like I waved at it, and it was like pulled over, which I thought it like saw me, pulled over to see me. It turned out that there were these Japanese tourists that were just like, going to see the lookout point.
Yeah.
And I went there and like just tried to like beg the driver, who didn't really understand me, to, go down. And I was like, showing him the bike and the brakes and showing him my shoe. And unfortunately these, the Japanese tourists, like one of them spoke a little bit of English, and, they okayed me to put my bike into their truck to, drive the way down.
Oh, cool. And what did they charge you for?
They, no charge.
See, this is what I love about Chiang Mai. Like, how amazing is that? Like,
I mean, worked out. Could have been a lot worse on a lot of different, on a lot of different accounts.
Yeah, but that's amazing. I'm glad you're safe.
Yeah, thank you.
I've always wondered when I would come down on like a motorcycle, and I would see people on like a road bike flying down, going like, I don't know. Do you know what the speed is going down that?
You can get up to like 40 kilometers an hour, 45.
Yeah, like 30 miles an hour
fast,
straight down. And I'm like, what are these? I was like, dude, this seems so dangerous.
Yeah.
But I think it's that adrenaline. It's like a reward, an adrenaline after that hard climb, right? Because you're climbing up for an hour and a half. It's just pure torture. You get to the top, you take a rest, you have a fruit shake, which I imagine, right?
And cruise down.
You just fly down, the adrenaline pumping. You're like, oh, man.
Which actually, I mean, the ride down is nice, but also, and maybe it's just my bike, the brakes aren't as good as they should be, but like it wears on, I mean, going up, it wears on your legs, but then on the way down, like it's tough on your forearms. And so it's not even like total cakewalk, just cruise down, because like you're braking pretty intensely. But yeah, I hope that any listeners out there that are bikers, hopefully hopefully aren't in a situation where they need to use their freaking shoe to slow down the bike, but
that's a good life-saving tip. I never would have thought of that. I would have just because it's so fast you can't jump off, you still hurt yourself.
I mean, I think that's,
and you wreck your bike.
That's the only other thing I was considering was like as it was coming around to like a curve of just bailing, but I mean that wouldn't have been a good option. So
and I guess it's good that you weren't like cleated in, or like, what do you call that, like attached in?
I guess, and like had shoes that I guess had rubber that could rub off.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty cool. Hey guys, real quick, I wanted to tell you about this week's episode sponsor, Global Pass, the global co-working membership. So Global Pass was actually created by my friends at coworker.com, and it gives you frictionless access to more than 1,500 co-working spaces worldwide. Virtually anywhere you go, you have access to workspace through their app. You can participate in their private founder launch for just $50 and get exclusive benefits for the first 500 users to join. Find out more at coworker.com/pass. So let's kind of get back to your story of how you kind of started this business. Like, what made you come and start this kind of nomad journey in the first place?
Yeah, so I guess my story started. I was backpacking around Thailand after college. I taught English in Korea for a year, and then was backpacking in Thailand and was up in Pai, a couple hours north of here. And that's where I met the first digital nomad, this guy Andrew, who basically introduced me to the lifestyle, that just really introduced me that this thing was possible, that internet marketing was a thing, SEO was a thing, that you could, hire people all over the world to, do whatever. And that you could do this all from your computer and while you're traveling. And, after I met him, this really, it was just clear to me that that's what I wanted to do. And so, got back home and got to work, and the first idea was building lead gen websites. That I successfully built some lead gen websites. These are cosmetic surgery websites for cosmetic surgery, Atlanta, Chicago, Miami, Baton Rouge, whatever. And so I succeeded in building these sites and learning how to, hire people and kind of project manage building websites. Unfortunately, did not succeed in making any money from them. And so,
was it just not getting enough traffic, or what was happening?
Yeah, I mean, it made a little traffic. It got a little traffic. I think part of it was the SEO landscape at that time. So this was end of 2011 into 2012. The SEO landscape was really changing a lot. I think that was some of the first Panda and Penguin updates, and it was kind of going from super spammy working to not working, and Google introduced Google Places, and I didn't know what I was doing. And but built these websites, but I didn't know how to do anything really. And yeah, they ranked for some stuff, but the idea was to build a lead list or sell the leads, and generated a couple leads but never sold them. And anyway, yeah, didn't end up making any money, but did get valuable skills in terms of learning how to hire and learning how to project manage and learning about SEO and learning about websites. And so
and just to give everyone an idea of what a lead gen website is, it'd be something like building bestbotoxboston.com, having a bunch of articles about Botox and the keyword Boston, or maybe the zip codes or whatever the city is, and then a contact us form, so book an appointment. And then if somebody filled that out, then you would try to sell that lead, who's someone interested in Botox in Boston, to a local business that provides it, right?
Exactly. And so I was trying to do that, or was trying to with cosmetic surgery. And so we'd build these websites, little information hubs around local cities with different articles about the different treatments, and then like basically hired a bunch of, spammy SEOers to spam it with backlinks, which previously worked, but wasn't the right long-term strategy. And anyway, so that didn't work how I thought or planned or wanted, and ended up, maybe a couple months later, 6 months later, was running out of money and was basically faced with the choice of either move back home and keep on trying, or to get a job. And, I got advice from some other, I guess, like the few other entrepreneurs that I knew at the time, or that I could connect with, that, they just kind of said that, at that time I was, I don't know, 23, maybe 24, and didn't really have much to lose. Like, worst case, I moved back home, kept trying, and then if it didn't work out, could get a job 6 months later, versus, like, I don't know, it made sense for me to, keep trying. And I knew that's really what I wanted. And so I did. And then I remember, moved back home, and it was around then that I found the Tropical MBA podcast. At the time was Lifestyle Business Podcast. And that was, these guys, Dan and Ian, talking a lot about their, online business, location independent business, digital nomad business, whatever, a lot of like marketing stuff that they were doing. And, they were living in Saigon at the time. And, I remember listening to that podcast, like I was, living at home, and my parents live in Minneapolis. So like I remember going to the gym, on like, Saturdays or weekends, whatever. It's, freaking 0 degrees outside. And, I'm just like, crushing episodes of, their podcast, and just like, honestly, just like, motivated and, learning, and just, excited about like the direction that I was going in. And so, from them, so for that podcast, and they have the community, the DC, which is their membership group for online business, location independent, whatever, that, they also were talking about on the, on the podcast. And they had their big annual event in Bangkok in the fall. And so that was what first kind of brought me then back out to Asia, was going to that event in Bangkok. And then from there, followed that to Chiang Mai and was here for a bit. And then from there, kind of followed the community to Saigon, which is what got me there. And
then when did you actually get into your Amazon business?
Yeah, so that was like, for me, the first couple years, maybe 1-2 years, being out in Asia, I was doing okay. Like I was making, a couple grand a month freelancing, basically.
And what were you doing for freelancing?
It's kind of a mix of stuff. Like had a couple Amazon or Google AdWords consulting clients where I managed their AdWords campaigns. Built some niche, websites that I had this other partner that at different points did okay. Project managed some, building websites that, like, all kind of, hacked together, made enough income to live pretty comfortably and well in, Chiang Mai and Saigon, but it wasn't, I didn't really see the long-term, vision or plan or like growth with a business like that. And honestly, coming to Chiang Mai, meeting guys like you at the time that, your dropship stores were like really taking off. And, a lot of the other community was a lot further ahead than me at that point, which, was honestly, it was inspiring to see, you and the other guys here that were, that were doing it, like building businesses that, really, which it was, seeing, getting exposed to that gave me it showed me what I wanted to be doing. And yeah, then, and also got the support from everyone that, everyone was so helpful, and, I'll show you what I'm doing, or here's this model and you can do it. And, so that's how I ended up getting into Amazon. Was there were, friends in Chiang Mai actually. And this was at you were there at Anton's Dropship Lifestyle. I think it was the first one. The first one in Chiang Mai that he hosted, and one of the speakers was another friend of mine who was doing really well with Amazon, and he kind of shared what was working and what he was doing, and then after that, I was just kind of like, all right, I'm gonna give that a go, and so I did, and fast forward, the process, it takes a long time. You got to find a product, you got to source it, then you got to manufacture it, then you got to ship it. It's just like, time on time just kind of stacks up, but, move forward. And that was the business. It was my second product that I launched, like, maybe the spring, summer of the following year that really started to take off. And that's when I knew that, like, this is like, that was going to be my thing for at least, that period, and double down and launch more products and yeah.
So what I really liked about Anton and that first conference in Chiang Mai was, I think he did it again in Krabi the year after, was that even though he had his course on kind of high ticket drop shipping, he would, like, literally one of the speakers he had come was talking about Amazon, which was a whole different business model. But I think Anton just like, this is what's working. This, like, if you want to pivot and move to Amazon, like, I want you to know what's currently working. If you want to stay with drop shipping, this also works. Like, stick with this path. But like, he's really the type that just wants people to have all the info, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely. And like, a lot of great speakers on, drop shipping relevant stuff, but also other stuff at, the first two events that I attended. Which is often awesome. Shout out to Anton, by the way.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I remember at that time when Amazon started getting big, I was also thinking, like, should I pivot or not? My dropshipping stores were doing pretty good. I think I was making, anywhere between like $2,000 and $5,000 a month in profit from them. And at the time, I don't think I knew anyone who was making much more from Amazon, or maybe at the time, like, they weren't even making as much. But I was like, I see potential in this. I see, like, the conversion rates are so high. Like, with the dropshipping store, like, you're aiming to get 1 or 2% conversion rates. With an Amazon store, like, you're getting, 20, 30...
10, 20, 30% potentially.
Yeah. And it's insane. It's just because people go on Amazon to buy stuff, and, like, people would just be like, oh, I either have Prime or I'm trying to hit the $25, $35 minimum, so I'm just going to buy as much crap as I can. And I was like, man, there's definitely potential here. And the only reason why I didn't switch was because I was like, do I want to rely 100% on Amazon? Because if they decided, to change their mind on anything, there's nothing I can do about it. And I think the people that did go Amazon route, the gamble paid off. But that was always in the back of my head thinking, do I want to be 100% reliant on this one platform?
Yeah, well, like, I mean, over the years with my experience and ups and downs, and, certainly have had success with it. But, like, at the same time, am more aware than ever of the pluses and minuses. And, like, it was a great opportunity. It did work out well for me. But, like, I know a lot of people that it didn't work out, and it can be really expensive and is only getting, more challenging and competitive. And that's not to say that, certainly still possible to have success, but it's, I mean, like everything, like it's hard, and, it's not, you don't want to approach it with the mentality of, like, get rich quick, which, and with Amazon especially, like, a big draw for me was, these, like, automated and all these, like, high revenue numbers. But there's a big difference between doing, high revenue numbers and putting money into your pocket. So versus, your dropship stores that maybe was making you, whatever, a couple grand, $5,000, profit at the end of the month, that was going into your pocket. You could live off of that.
Because we weren't reinvesting it.
Right. Versus, an FBA business that, it's growing. I remember when my business, like, really was taking off, and sales in, like, a 6-month stretch went from, like, $5,000 a month to $100,000 a month. And it was like 30% roughly whatever profit. And so you'd think, like, oh, wow, like, $100,000 a month in sales, like $30,000 profit, stacking cash, when in reality, it was all going back into the business, all going back into growth, all going into more inventory, into new products. And so yeah, I mean, the opportunity, I think, with the FBA, I mean, if you ride out the cash flow and stabilize, you can then you can, cash flow it. Or if you sell it, that's how you make your money.
And that's a really good point. I think a lot of people don't think about it is with a physical kind of inventory business, whether it's fulfilled by Amazon or if you're shipping it yourself, if you want to grow, you got to buy more inventory. And even though you're making, a big chunk of profit, to continue that, you need to put all that back in. And if you can either sell the business, or if you can end up kind of figuring out a way where you're like, okay, you know what, we don't need to grow anymore, we can just stabilize and then start making money, then it's very, very profitable. But during that growth, which might take a couple of years, if something happens, or Amazon changes its mind, or changes the policy, or a competitor comes in, you could potentially have just ordered $30,000 worth of inventory, and it's just sitting there now.
Yeah, it's it has its risks and its challenges, and it's something that it doesn't, if the business is still growing, the cash flow, treadmill doesn't stop. Like a friend of mine who in 3 years grew his business to $1 million a month in sales. Wow. It did like 10 million plus trailing 12 months, and just say 25% profit margins. You think, okay, that's like, $2+ million going into his pocket, when in reality, the business was growing, so it was all getting reinvested, and that's what led him to list the business for sale, because he's like, all right, well, like, I'm making all this revenue, this business is selling all this stuff, but he wasn't getting the kind of income that he thought or wanted. And I mean, he's looking at, and actually has an offer, I mean, it's in due diligence for close to an 8-figure exit, so hopefully will work out really well for him. But like, as it's growing, it is risky and it is expensive.
Have you met anyone or have heard like firsthand stories about people who just ended up like losing it?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it's a lot more common, I think, than maybe you'd realize, because like the people you hear on podcasts, they're talking about the success that they had. People aren't talking about the time that their listing got suspended for some BS reason, and then while it was down, new competitors launched, and this was right after you just placed a big inventory order, and now you're sitting on all this stuff and it's moving slow, and and like this stuff, it's it's not uncommon, and it's interesting now getting into services and consulting in the space that like I've get exposed and see a lot of other businesses, and see people and work with businesses that like are doing great and crushing, but also see businesses that they have their sales projections, and they order all this inventory, and then whatever happens and projections underperform, and now they're sitting on an extra whatever 10s or even 6 figures of extra inventory that now messes up their cash flow for all this. And like, yeah, I mean, I think it's less commonly talked about, because most people don't, the businesses that get kind of screwed over by Amazon or like really face some of these challenging times, like they're not the ones going on and doing the podcast interviews, but yeah, I mean, it definitely happened.
Yeah, I've had a friend who was in the supplement niche, and he had a competitor sabotage his brand. Basically, this guy, he paid a bunch of people, somewhere anonymously, and said, just order, these supplements and then just return it. That's it. Right. But so it didn't seem like that big of a deal to the individual. They're like, oh, I'm going to get paid $20 or $10 to order something, return it, get my money back. Great. But the reason why I ended up hurting my buddy is you can't, like, if someone like sends back supplements, you can't resell them because they might be tainted. And it just like screwed them for
there's
thousands of dollars of inventory.
Well, there's that. And like, if your listings get a return rate above a certain metric, like things can get flagged, your listing can get taken down. Like, there's all this kind of stuff that, definitely, can happen. And like, not to scare off people from, getting into Amazon, or if they're in Amazon, like it can go really well, but it's also important to like be aware of the challenges and risks associated with whatever you're doing. You don't want to go into things blindly optimistic. I mean, healthy optimism is good, but you don't want to be blind to the risks that, that could happen to you and your business.
And I think at some certain point, it's good just to take some money off the table and just be like, all right, I've been riding this roller coaster. It's growing. The money isn't really your money until it's in your bank, right?
Absolutely. And it's stuff that that I certainly did. And when I ended up selling my business a couple years ago, was like very much that. I was like, all right, well, it was paying me okay income, but like, it wasn't just like stacking money up in my bank account.
Like how much were you paying yourself?
Maybe like $5,000 a month. I mean, I would kind of expense stuff on the business. So my expenses were kind of low. I mean, I didn't have that high expenses, but yeah, like maybe, $5,000 a month or something.
And then how much was how much revenue was the business?
We were doing like 6 figures a month.
Wow, nice. Okay.
So, I mean, sort of. Like, I mean, it was cool, but again, like, sexy revenue numbers is not the same as like cash in your pocket.
Yeah.
And so,
and then when you sold the business, you had.
I did have cash in my pocket. Yeah, which like
how did can you talk about the sale? How many was it an earn out or was it a big lump sum?
So mine was it was unexpected. This wasn't like we didn't go to a broker. We had an offer from a potentially interested buyer. And
how did that buyer find you? Was it like a mutual friend?
So this was through my business partner. And so also I kind of took chips off the table twice. So like first when my business was first started taking off, we hit our first 6-figure month in sales and I was like looking at my bank account and there was like $5,000 in it. It's kind of like, all right, well, like,
yeah. And you were like, how's this possible? We just made $100,000 worth of sales this month, but I have $5,000 in my
it's kind of like, what am I in this for? Am I in this to, sell $1 million worth of stuff on Amazon? Or am I in this to like give myself financial security and income and like cash? And so after my business kind of had that first inflection point, teamed up with a investor partner, a friend of mine, Travis, who had recently completed a big exit of his own. So he was looking to get involved with other stuff. And so that was the first thing that got me to that first level of financial, from a couple, more than a couple $1,000s in my bank account. And so I had that.
So he gave you like a chunk of cash and became like a 50-50 partner?
Yes.
Or?
So he gave me a chunk of cash and then became a 49% partner in the business.
Can I ask how much he gave you?
Yeah. So the business, it was valued at the time, I think I ended up getting between, I think it was like $200K plus inventory.
Oh, nice.
So I ended up getting
That's
it was like, I don't know, between 200 and 250 like cash, which, was quite different than the $5,000 that I had in my bank account, before.
So was the business worth then like $400,000 based on your projections?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, I think that was at like around like a 2x, so I mean, if it was valued at like $400,000, it was doing, so what is that, like 18K? I mean, if it was a 2x multiple, so $400,000 at a 2x multiple would be $200,000 a year, which would be like 16K profit. And so, yeah, I think like, it was I guess that was our last 6 months or, whatever at that time. And so
I think that was a smart move because even though potentially you could have had, kept it all for yourself and, potentially made more money at the same time, going from $5,000 in the bank, which is, 1 month's worth of expenses, right? Or 2 months worth of expenses, to having the stability and, of like, how did that feel? Like I'm assuming that was the first time in your life you had that much money in your bank.
It was life changing and like, don't regret it, at all. And like, I can say like at the time I had different people giving me different advice. And, on one hand, they're like, oh, well, like you've been doing this and you're in a good direction and you don't need, this. And, if you like hold out, you're going to, make more later. Then on the other hand, we're like, dude, like, that's a lot of money. That's going to really change your situation. And like, and also, Travis, my, partner investor, is like really successful guy, smart guy, good guy. And so all that went into my thinking of like, all right, well, I can keep doing this alone and kind of roll the dice on it more, or like, take some chips off the table, partner up with someone who I knew had good success. And I thought would, broadly speaking, add value to the business and the equation. And then to get back to your original question of how we found the buyer, it was through Travis. It was this buyer had bought businesses from Travis in the past. And so that's how we were connected to him, was through my partner. And so, certainly I think he, came and added a lot of value to, that business, that situation, even just from that connection to the buyer. And so then, had the buyer, thankfully had built a great team that had the business, like, basically on top of its shit to be able, that we could be sold, like had our finances in order, had like, could show the buyer the stuff that he needed to see in order to move forward with the acquisition. And then got that, chunk of money. And so yeah, I mean, between the two of them totally changed my financial situation. And like, also shifted a lot of my mindset like after that around like income generating things, because then it's like, all right, I have this cash but I don't have income. Like, all right, well, like, how do I get income? And like that's a big reason why I didn't jump back into another FBA business, because like I wanted to protect my cash and have it go up instead of having to
reinvest it all again. So what did you do that $200K? Did you invest it somewhere?
After sold the business, the first thing, as the timing would have it, was right when crypto was starting to get crazy a couple years ago. And so a big chunk ended up going into crypto, which was a big learning experience. Like, overall, I came out up. Although I also was up and down literally millions, or like a million plus up and then also down.
Wow.
And
so how much? Okay, so how much did you sell the business for?
The business was sold for $950K.
And then you got about half of that.
Half of that, yeah.
So then so you had like 400 something K plus the 200K you had before. Was that invested already, or
no,
did you spend that?
I was just sitting on,
just in a bank account making 0%.
Yeah, but like, I didn't
okay.
know anything. I mean,
yeah. Okay. And then how much crypto did you buy?
I bought like I think in that spring, probably put like low six figures into crypto.
So you put over 100 grand into like Bitcoin or Ether?
Yeah,
or
Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then got into all the ICO stuff over the summer, and like saw that, say, 100K turn into like, I think at my peak it was like 1.6 million.
And you were like ballin', crypto billionaire.
Well, exactly. The plan, I mean, it's funny to think back on. The plan was I was going to wait till I had my portfolio got to 5 million.
Wow.
I was going to take out 2 mil, invest in real estate, and be done.
Yeah. Okay.
Didn't end up working out that way.
Yeah. Like at the high point, what was it worth?
I think just under 2, like at its peak. Or something around 2 or like under 2. Of course, did not. And actually, I remember talking to Sam Marks at the time, just kind of as that stuff was happening. And he, one of the most experienced and I think like level-headed investors that at least I know. And, he was really, I was talking to a lot of people at the time, and he was really like a voice of reason of like, take money out, and like
and you didn't.
I didn't listen.
Oh no.
And I mean it's crazy. I mean, can look back on it as a big learning experience, but like like going through that, I mean, mentally wrapped up, like it was a crazy thing to be a part of. And anyway, so wrote it up, didn't sell out, wrote it down. I did cash out most of my crypto. Fortunately, it was still like, I still ended up positive, but like watched the portfolio shrink by more than $1 million.
Wow.
But so that also is like, a lesson then that kind of had me, reinforced in me, like the value of cash flow versus, paper wealth. And like, I remember, looking at my portfolio, it's like, oh, like, I have, $1 million or $1.5 million. The reality, I had nothing. And like, then talking to more, experienced investors like Sam, chatting with him at Nomad Summit. And he was telling me about one of the businesses that he invested in that's like, doing really well. But, the way that he articulated it is still like, paper profits. And like, it's, I mean, that business that he was talking about, I think it's a good chance that that's going to continue to do well and all these kind of things. But like, you can't count that as...
Don't count your chickens before they hatch,
exactly, right? Like, as I wish I would have listened more to that advice at the time. But then, coming out of that, I mean, thankful that at least I didn't end up losing money like I know a lot of people did. And yeah, like, if anything, that like just cemented in me even more like the direction that I want to be going in now in terms of pursuing things that are long-term and like, generating income being a value exchange of like, you perform service or product that generates value for customers and then, in return receive value in terms of payment, versus crypto, which was all speculation and there's, no foundational at that time, really anything. And yeah, so it was an expensive lesson to learn, but also I think, glad that I learned it then, as opposed to, at a $10 million opportunity that I would, freaking blow.
I really admire that you're so open about it, because I think there's a lot of people who lost money in crypto and just never talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, I was fortunate that I didn't, like, I ended up, I mean, down if you look at the portfolio, but like, fortunately I didn't actually lose money on it. And yeah, I mean, and like, what am I going to do? Be pissed about it? Like, be sour? I mean, you don't really have much of a choice except to try to learn from it and, don't make that mistake again moving forward.
So what do you invest your money in now?
So now I've invested in a handful of other private businesses, which has overall been a good experience, also a big learning experience. And yeah, like my kind of investment thesis for those businesses has been generating cash flow. So like I've invested in 4 other businesses, and each of them are they're profitable and get distributions out of my share of owner. So I own anywhere from 25 to 50%.
And that monthly like profit, or you're sure of it, is actually hitting your bank account. So that's real money.
Yeah,
to you.
we do quarterly distributions. I mean, some of them there's an earnout period or this or that, but yeah, like I give money and value in exchange for equity ownership in the business, and then do profit distributions. For now it's been quarterly, but yeah, income generating. I mean, right now my goal and focus, and also a lot of the stuff that you talked about at Nomad Summit at your talk about just like cash is king, cash flow is king, income exceeding expenses. And so like I've been really leaning into that, now, and like that's what I want. Like I'm not even going for exits right now. I just want cash flow and like stacking cash flow and like more income.
It was really interesting seeing kind of the hot topics every year turn, and also just what people need or what they're interested in, because a few years ago the Nomad Summit was really into like starting businesses, like people just starting out, like whether should they get into Amazon, should they get into drop shipping, should they get into Kindle publishing, should they get into. And this year a lot of the talks, probably half of them, were talking about either buying or selling businesses, and then what to do with that money once you have an exit. So it's really cool seeing so many nomads that have either been coming to the Nomad Summit for multiple years, or people who I've known from Chiang Mai, or this nomad journey for multiple years, and seeing us kind of go through these cycles, right?
Yeah, well, I think the ourselves, present company included, at a very different place in our careers than we were at that paleo breakfast, 6-7 years ago. And so like interested in different things. And I mean, it's like amazing to see, how you're like investment savvy, and like that was certainly not a part of you and your life, when we first met, and like, me as well. Like most of my, my career has happened like since we first met, and yeah, like very different person now, personally, professionally, just like everything. And so it's cool to see, and like a lot of other people in the community, the ones that are, coming back, that also, have grown and changed, and like can, bring more of that value and share more of that with like the newer
people. I love it. So you guys listening, wherever you guys are at your journey, know that we all were there at a point, and maybe you might be listening to this thinking, wow, that's exactly where I am right now. This is very like spot on with the timing. Or you might be thinking, this is a bit too early. I'm not even thinking about selling a business or investing. I'm like just starting out. Save this episode, because I think this is something that you'll come back to and be like, oh man, I'm glad I kind of heard the whole story before I made the same mistakes.
Yeah, I'd say, I think good to like be exposed to some of these different perspectives or opinions. But also I can say, if this was me, rewind to me listening to, Sam giving me very sound investment advice, and like, I knew it was good advice, but like some lessons you can't really learn until you learn it yourself. And so, hope that other people at least hope they can get the lesson of, if you're biking and your brakes aren't working, save yourself with your shoe. The financial stuff too, of course, but yeah, I don't know, maybe we're just like headstrong. It's hard to take advice sometimes if you haven't like really felt the pain of the other side of it. And yeah, I guess at least, if that's what ends up happening, hopefully, hopefully the lesson is learned on a smaller stakes thing that you can then learn and keep growing and save yourself from, a more expensive mistake later.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And like for me, I think the reason why I like sharing this stuff is because I wish this info would have been out there like when I was going through the same things. Because I feel like I would like to hope that if it was, maybe I would have listened. Maybe I wouldn't have. Maybe you're right. Maybe I would have been like, nah, man, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna do 100% crypto. I'm gonna be a crypto billionaire, drive a Bugatti.
It's close.
But, yeah, it was. I mean, that's close. Yeah, but at the end of the day, like I think both of us somewhat got lucky, but also somewhat. I would say most of it was hard work.
No, I mean, like, I think luck definitely plays a factor in everything, but like, it's not luck. There's different kinds of luck, and it's not just dumb blind luck. For us, like, we were putting ourselves in situations, and it's like a combination of like hard work, persistence, and that we happened to, find the right opportunity, place, and time that then we were able to take advantage. And like, yeah, and I mean, like, there's nothing wrong. I think, luck or being in a right, situation. I think that plays a role in a lot of people that, catch a platform at the right time or, this or that and finds this opportunity. But like, they're able to get lucky because they worked hard, are persistent, kept showing up. It's like, 365 days to an overnight success, or like 1,000 days to an overnight success.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But to the people out, like they're going to ask right now, they're like, is it too late for Amazon? Is it too late for drop shipping? What is the new hot business? What do you say to them?
I mean, I think you can have success with any model. It's about really, choosing, like being well aware of the, really the like pluses and minuses about what you're gonna get into. But then like, I mean, now, I'm a partner and also like have my own now into services and consulting. And like, I can't think of a more direct way to generate income for yourself than consulting or services. And yeah, I mean, that's also like, I don't know. I definitely resisted it. Kind of when I first started, I was doing consulting and services, and then I got into e-commerce, and now I'm back to the services because like it is going to be, you're not going to get a sexy revenue numbers, but it's still, I mean, it's different challenges. You still can automate it via a team, and yeah, I mean, cash flow. So like I think that's the easiest, most direct way to like give yourself income to buy your freedom for whatever. And yeah, I mean, at least then get some cash to then maybe reinvest in a drop shipping or Amazon Play or.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I'm just thinking for the people who are just starting out, maybe they don't have the skills to be like, I don't want to give anyone the false dream of like, what kind of, this is what happens in Bali, I think, is people are like, oh, you don't have any skills? Yeah, you should be a life coach. Like, do you think that someone should like take a class or a course or be an intern for someone to develop those skills?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the quickest way to get skills is going to be working for someone that, has done or is doing what you want to be doing. Give a shout out to Dynamite Jobs, which is a great hiring platform for, location independent work. And yeah, I mean, like when I was getting my start, like I was hustling. Which is, so I was hustling on Upwork, which is still, a viable platform. And a lot of the businesses that I'm actually involved with now, like still like get leads from Upwork. And so, yeah, like I'm not saying it's easy. You might have to start working for lower rates than you want. But like, for me, like that's what first allowed me to start getting some skills, really getting paid to learn. You need to be able to like sell yourself. But yeah, would like, bid on projects that I thought I could figure out and then would figure it out and, kind of snowball upwards from there. And that led to some, eventual business partnerships and different connections. And so yeah, like it's definitely still possible today. Just also takes some hustle.
I agree. And I think at the end of the day, we sometimes forget that even when we started, everybody was already saying everything is too late and nothing's easy. Like 5 years ago, people were already saying Amazon's saturated, Amazon's too hard. People were saying drop shipping's too saturated, it's too hard. And 5 years later, we both had good exits and made a lot of money. So I think sometimes we forget, right? I think we always kind of think like it's too late for everything. But in reality, I guarantee you 5 years from now, someone's going to look back and be like, man, I could have been drop shipping, commodities. I didn't realize how easy it was to sell 3 tons of sugar to Nestle because nobody else was doing it, or like, I can't believe how easy it was to build a brand on Amazon and, make $1 billion from it. I think these are things that in retrospect or kind of, in hindsight, everything's 2020, but nobody can predict the future, which is why, like
there's opportunities, just having that right,
now,
can-do mindset and like not making excuses. And like, it's easy to make excuses for anything, but that's not going to get you anywhere. It's like, or, you just buck up and, maybe it's going to take longer and harder, but like, you just keep at it, get yourself surrounded by the right people. And, I think it'll push you forward.
I love it. So I'm so happy that you came on the show. I'm glad that we connected. I really, really enjoyed your talk and your workshop at Nomad Summit. The feedback's been really, really good. And I think probably by the time you guys listen to this, some of the talks will be live already on the Nomad Summit YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the email list at nomadsummit.com, as well as the Nomad Summit YouTube channel. You can see Nate's talk, you can see my talk, all the keynotes for free on the Nomad Summit YouTube channel. So hit that up. You can learn something. And Nate, if you want to get in touch with you,
really fun chat, fun getting down memory lane a little bit, and as well as I think covered some stuff that I think both of us wish we would have known earlier in our careers and our journey. So hope those of you out there listening, hope you find it useful. Anyone that is interested in connecting, my current business is sellerplex.com. Help other businesses to automate, unplug, scale, which is what I spoke about at Nomad Summit. So if you're interested in that, check out the keynote I gave at Nomad Summit. Go check us out online, send us a message. Yeah, happy to connect. Any of you that are into also yoga, traveling, can check me out on Instagram at Nate Ginsberg. And say hi. Love connecting with good people, and hope to catch you somewhere.
Right. Thanks, Nate. Hope to catch you somewhere else in the world as well. And all of you guys listening, hope to see you guys at the next Nomad Summit. The next one is actually in Tbilisi, Georgia, the weekend of May 23rd. This one is going to have a limit to 220 tickets just because the room only fits that amount. So I think this one might be the first one to actually completely sell out. So make sure you get your tickets early if you want to go, because prices are going to go up as we get closer. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends. Take a screenshot, PM them, DM them, whatever you want. And also, if you really love the podcast and you want more people to find it, please leave a review on iTunes. It helps so much for people, just looking around and saying like, what is a good podcast to listen to? I don't think we had that many 2020 reviews yet. So please be the first, or be the first 10, because that's how we get to the top 10 list or top 50 list for people to find it. So go to iTunes. Big shout out to everyone in 2019 that left reviews, including Rob from Seattle, Christopher, Marks, Authentic Sky, Apple, Unus Monk. All you guys said, great things, 5 stars for the podcast. So definitely check that out. And again, thank you to our sponsor for the week, Global Pass. Check them out if you want to check out more than 600 cities, co-working spaces around the world. Just go to coworker.com/pass. See you guys on the next episode. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus, How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.